Good afternoon from a very chilly Israel as we brace for Storm Byron, and welcome to another edition of the Israel Brief with me, Rolene Marks. Now, I know it is that time of the year and many of you are on vacation, so for whoever is joining me from vacation, I really appreciate your company. As always, the Israel Brief is brought to you in partnership with these guys, Lay of the Land. And as we do every Monday to Thursday, we are going to take a walk through the top stories making the headlines in Israel. Now, a reminder to everybody, it is day 795 since the 7th of October. And I'm still counting down and I am still wearing this because as we speak, Hamas still have the remains of fallen hostage or deceased hostage Master Sergeant Ran Gvili. We want him home now. We cannot move to the second phase of the ceasefire, and we really cannot start to begin to heal as a nation until we receive Ran back. So with that said, and before we get into those top stories, just a reminder that if you have a question you would like answered on the Israel Brief, please be in touch with me either via our social media or via our website. And every Thursday I bring you your choices of who you think are the menschers, the great people, and the morons of the week. So guys, if you don't mind, if you could get those recommendations through to me by lunchtime tomorrow, I would really appreciate it. I don't want to miss out on anybody's nominees. So with that said, let's take a look at those top stories. And we begin with news that Israel has struck quite heavily Hezbollah's sites throughout southern Lebanon. Now the targets include a Radwan, that's the elite force of Hezbollah, their training grounds, as well as other military targets, including also launching sites where Hezbollah Radwan forces were planning to launch attacks on Israeli civilians. According to Israel, the fact that the Radwan forces have training facilities and there is a military buildup is a clear violation of the agreements and understandings between Israel and Lebanon. Now, if you recall, under these agreements, the Lebanese army as well as the UNIFIL troops, that's the United Nations Interim Forces in Lebanon, they are mandated with preventing Hezbollah from rearming. They are mandated with keeping Hezbollah north of the Litani River and not violating any of the agreements. So Israel is well within our rights to strike these military targets. And speaking of ceasefires, Hamas said a short while ago to a Saudi outlet that they are not prepared to move to phase 2 of the ceasefire. Now, if you have been following the phases of the ceasefire, phase 1 is the return of all the hostages, including the deceased hostages. And as I said just moments ago, Hamas is still holding onto the remains of deceased hostage Ran Gvili. Phase 2 will see the deployment of an international military force or peacekeeping force inside the Gaza Strip, which would also take away Hamas's control. Now, Hamas do not want to accept the fact, the agreements that they have to demilitarize. They will not accept an international peacekeeping force. And they have said, while there are clear Israeli violations. Now, Hamas has been violating the ceasefire on a near daily basis by attacking Israeli troops and troop positions within the yellow line. Now, the yellow line is kind of a buffer zone area where the Israeli military is standing or forming a defensive line. This is as part of the ceasefire agreement. Now, Hamas have been launching opportunistic attacks on a near daily basis, and Israel has been responding in response to these violations. So that is what Hamas is talking about. Staying in the south, and Kibbutz Be'eri, that saw over 100 of its residents slaughtered on the 7th of October, and I think the figure was about over 60 taken hostage. I could be wrong on that hostage number. They have made a decision to tear down all of the damaged houses except for one. Now, the reason they say this, they've engaged in very deep community discussions, and they have decided that they want to focus very much on rebuilding. They have already built or started to build a new neighborhood for residents who've lost their homes and for anyone who would want to settle on the kibbutz. This is one of the kibbutzim on that periphery of the Gaza Strip. They've said they will be keeping one house as a testimony house and also as a way to tell their story to future generations. Now, it is up to each kibbutz how they want to move forward, how they want to preserve memory, if they want to keep those areas that have been effectively destroyed, if they want to keep those there, or if they want to completely rebuild and destroy. It's decisions that we will leave to those communities, and we will respect the wishes of those communities. Meanwhile, Tel Aviv has started to disassemble some of the installation at Hostages Square. Now, so many of you have come to Israel, have visited Hostages Square to show your solidarity, to comfort the families waiting for their loved ones to return, to listen to the testimonies and to bear witness. I've taken you guys to Hostages Square during the course of the last 2 years, and that has been the place where many Israelis went to show our solidarity, to cry, to celebrate the return of the living hostages. It's a place where we gathered in rallies on Saturday nights. Now there will be Kabbalat Shabbat, small numbers that will gather. It has been a place that I think will forever be entwined in the story of the people of Israel and the events of the 7th of October. Now, what will remain, at least for the time being, will be the tunnel that was built there to try and get people to understand what it is like for the hostages who were kept in the tunnels. The Hope sign, Alon Ohel's pianos, and just on the subject of Alon, he played the piano at a fundraiser for one of the medical facilities in recent days. Just a joy to see that. And if you are interested to listen to his first interview, it is up on our Facebook page. The interview is in Hebrew with English subtitles. I really encourage you to watch it. It's on our Facebook page at Lotl Site. So that's on Facebook. If you just have to look for Lotl, Lotl Sitn, you'll see his interview there. And for now, that's what will remain. But for us in Israel, we will never forget what we as a nation have endured for the last 795 days with the hostage crisis, which until Ran Gavili comes home is still not over. In some very positive developments, Israel and Bolivia are expected to sign an agreement later today, renewing diplomatic ties between the two countries. Now, in the days after the new president was elected, one of the first phone calls was with our foreign minister, Gideon Sa'ar. If you recall, round about the 1st of November in 2023, Bolivia became the first Latin American country to sever ties completely with the state of Israel. I don't even think that was about 2 weeks into our response to the 7th of October. So a new government means a new age of bilateral relations. So they are expected to sign the agreement later today. And also very exciting for Israelis is that Bolivia has dropped all visa requirements for Israelis to visit Bolivia. So very, very positive news indeed. And also today, while we are talking about hostages, Israel bid farewell to Sudisak Realak. Sudisak was the last of the Thai hostages, foreign nationals, who was murdered on the 7th of October. His remains were returned to Israel. And this morning, in a very moving ceremony, which I actually watched the stream of from Ben Gurion Airport, Israeli officials, along with some of the workers who are here still from Thailand, and the Thai ambassador, bid him farewell. It was very, very moving. A representative from the hostages' families spoke. The hostages' families have actually sent a letter to his family expressing their sorrow and their condolences. And also speaking was hostage envoy Gal Hirsch, who expressed his sorrow and condolences and said that we take full responsibility for everybody who was taken hostage on the 7th of October. He said, Realak, we failed to protect you. You are our brother, and we will never forget you. And you can very much feel that amongst all of us in Israel, that all of the hostages, be it the hostages from Thailand, Bipin Joshi from Nepal, from any other places in the world, Jimmy from the Philippines, who's named his little girl Israel, you're a part of us. Josh and Clemence from Tanzania, you are forever a part of our Israeli family, the living and the dead. So those are our top stories. I'm going to take your audience question today, and it's a doozy. It comes from Craig in Melbourne. G'day, Craig. I love your fair city. And just a shout out while I'm talking about Australia, just a shout out to my friends in Adelaide. You know who you are, who sent me such a beautiful message following yesterday's Israel brief. And before I get into Craig's question, a shout out to Gary Sachs. And I love this comment from Gary on YouTube. Gary said, Slovenia, Ireland, the Netherlands and Spain for pulling out of Eurovision in a gigantic temper tantrum. If you put the first letters all together, their first letters spell sins. Go figure. I thought that was quite brilliant. So thanks, Gav, for that. So let's get on to Craig's question. And he says, I am confused. What really is the situation with journalists in Gaza? Okay, so we hear a lot in the media that journalists cannot go into the Gaza Strip. Now, here is the reality. What journalists are looking for, what the Foreign Press Association, what journalists like Alex Crawford from Sky News and Jeremy Bowen from the BBC want, is to be able to enter the Gaza Strip unfettered, to just be able to walk in and do whatever they want. And they will say things like, what Israel's doing, preventing journalists, is unprecedented. So here are the facts. First of all, journalists have been going into the Gaza Strip since the 23rd of November 2023. However, they have been going in on embeds with the IDF, under the protection of the IDF. Now, and they were taken into places like Shifra Hospital. I forgot its name for a second there. They were taken into Shifra. They saw where hostages were kept. They saw where the weapons were kept. So they've been into the Gaza Strip, albeit embedded. This is not unprecedented. If you go to Ukraine, if you go to Afghanistan, Iraq, anywhere where there has been war, journalists are not allowed to go to the front line. First of all, it is extremely dangerous for them. And second of all, it could compromise the military campaigns. Now, Gaza is a very, very small concentrated area. It is the most densely populated area on earth, and the entire Gaza Strip, as you guys have been following, from the tunnels underground, from booby-trapped buildings, is the front lines. So the safest way to go in, and I've been into the Gaza Strip, I took you guys in to see where the aid was being kept while we were waiting for it to be collected and distributed, and you saw I was fully geared up, full body armor, the whole toot. That was done with the IDF, who do not interfere in what you broadcast. I mean, we had those two imbeciles from the ABC who had all our jaws on the floor, who all saw the same things we did and broadcast, I don't know, whatever narrative they were pushing that day. We know from testimonies from journalists in 2014 that Hamas threatened their lives, that Hamas would launch rockets from very, very close to where journalists were reporting, putting their lives in grave danger. We know from journalists who went with the IDF into the Hezbollah tunnels in Lebanon, the few of them that did go, we know from them that they were threatened that if they go in, if they don't broadcast this or that, that their colleagues in the bureaus in Beirut, that something bad could happen to them. We are dealing with terrorists and terrorist organizations who do not play by the same rules as any other media house does. So to make a long story short, journalists have been going into the Gaza Strip, albeit in embeds with the IDF. We cannot let them go in unfettered. The situation is extremely, extremely dangerous. It does not inhibit their ability to report when they do go in embeds. In fact, they went in, quite a few of them, just 2 weeks ago. They went in, they saw the yellow line, they saw parts of Gaza that had been destroyed. Nothing is being kept from your ability to see it on the ground. So guys, that's it from me for today. Don't forget to check out our website at www.layoftheland.online, our Facebook page at Lottel's site, the neighborhood dogs reminding you, I'm reminding you that Alon Ohel's very, very, very interesting interview is there. We are on YouTube right at the Israel Brief. We would love it if you hit that subscribe button. We're on Substack and LinkedIn at Rolene Marks, and on Instagram at Rolene_Marks. So guys, have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you again tomorrow. Bye for now.